It's time to check your money with your friendly neighborhood advisor. Mike Jennings is a wealth advisor with Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. Mike, what's going on?
I'm doing good, George. I can't complain about yourself.
I'm doing great. 4th of July was nice, and it's the start of some rest and relaxation for your boy.
I know I'm getting to that point where I'm eating too much again, so I gotta
Oh.
slow down a little bit.
All right. All right. Well, I'm glad that you recognize, and now you're going to do something about it. What's on your plate for today?
Yeah, so George, this week I wanted to cover something that many people listening may have faced or fear that they will face soon with the economic climate that we're in, and that is how to deal with overwhelming debt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with the high interest rates we've seen recently and the issues we talked about plenty times, such as consumer debt and student loans. Many are finding that they're not in the best position to change their situation. So before people start Googling solutions and all that stuff, I want to make sure that our listeners at least understand what some of these options may mean for them, because a lot of them have pretty significant ramifications. So are you okay with that, George?
I'm okay with that. Let's do it.
All right, all right. So when we talk about options in dealing with debt, right, there are really two main ways that come up often. It's the private route and then the more legal route. So the first that we'll discuss is debt settlement or debt relief. There's a bunch of different names, but these are the private route. So these are described in different but similar ways by each servicer or people that help with this problem. But basically, it's a private negotiation that you enter to settle a debt. Now, usually you'll find yourself facing this option if you have smaller debt obligations, maybe have a few that are backed up, and just things that you couldn't keep up with, whether it's personal loans that you didn't pay back, or a credit card that was charged off, or maybe even an unpaid bill that got charged to a debt collection agency. So whatever the case may be, you probably ended up with a debt collector either sending you a letter or calling you to have a little chat about it. So debt collectors are, companies and agencies that buy this unpaid debt from other companies, and they act as the repayment servicers or the loan collectors, right? Or debt collectors. So basically, instead of owing the original lender, you now owe the debt collector. And yes, this is a completely legal practice. I've seen a lot of people say that it isn't, some of those credit gurus say that they're not allowed to do that and you're not obligated to pay. That's not true at all. So don't listen to those people. And now some people also turn to debt consolidation for things like their credit cards. And this is available through many different servicers or things like balance transfers and such. But anyway, sometimes you'll be able to have a payment plan to settle, and that obligation may be for the total amount that you owe, or you may also negotiate again with the debt collector for a lower amount.
And just like you said, these collectors buy them like for pennies on the dollar, but then they can collect the full amount. So that's why they do it.
And
Right.
that's it. That's exactly why they do it. They pretty much already made it back. They're just trying to see how much they can get from you.
Exactly. So, Michael, what downsides might there be from using debt relief, if any?
Um, So, I mean, there's so many different options when it comes to debt relief, and it'll be based on your specific situation, what sort of route that you go for. You have a lot of flexibility in choosing how to handle these debts, but you're kind of at the mercy of whatever debt settler that you use. You're at the mercy of their rules. So, you may find also that certain credit issuers will close your account if you utilize a debt relief or a consolidation program. So still, this could be a better option to dealing with singular debts or some of those smaller debts than some of the others that we'll get into next. But the other side of debt relief is bankruptcy. So this is the legal route, right? And I know when people hear this term, it's a bit of a shock, but it is what it is. Bankruptcy can be a clear, established way of restarting or leveling the playing field for yourself. So what exactly is bankruptcy, right? So, like I just said, it is a legal process to declare that you cannot fulfill your debt obligations. You'll likely find yourself facing this option when your debts have reached a level that is overwhelming. So let's say you have a lot of debt that you may have racked up over the years, and now you're in a job or position where you're not making as much. So you really can't pay enough to sort of, backfill and sort of catch up on those older loans, and debts. And then also take care of everything that you need to take care of in the present time. So it's overwhelming and you simply just don't have make enough to tackle them yourself. Now, declaring bankruptcy allows certain debts like consumer debt, medical debt, other unsecured loans, and things like that to be pretty much discharged or taken away by the courts. Um, Debts that can't be discharged are things like unpaid taxes, student loans, child support, alimony, things like that, things that are sort of have like a sort of like a court ruling that you have to pay it, right?
And these things have been changed and updated over the years because in the past some of those things were discharged, but now they're not. But Michael, not all bankruptcy is the same.
That's true, George. That's true. So there are pretty much two or so pretty really three, but two that the average individual can go through as far as bankruptcy, two forms. There's Chapter 7, which is the one that most people, I believe, think of when you think of bankruptcy, and that is when your assets are liquidated and it's paid off to your different creditors and people that you owe, and then the remaining is discharged. Now, on the other hand, there's Chapter 13, which is more like a reorganization of your debt. So Chapter 13 is going to put you on a payment plan between 3 to 5 years, and it doesn't involve liquidation of your assets, things like your home and your car. Um, After that payment is completed, the remaining debts are discharged. And this is more so an option for those who make a little bit more income and they pretty much just need a bit of time to catch up rather than people who can't feasibly pay back most of their debt. So Chapter 7 is sort of like the reset button. It's a relatively quick way to absolve yourself of debts that can be discharged. And then Chapter 13, it just takes a little more time and it's a bit more complex.
Not only is it a bit more complex, but either form of bankruptcy can have some disadvantages. What are they?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So the biggest is really surrounding the stigma with bankruptcy, right? Bankruptcy is advantageous in providing you a new start, sort of like a clean slate. But Chapter 7 bankruptcy will absolutely tank your credit score. Or both forms of bankruptcy will absolutely take your credit score. Chapter 7, it'll show up on your credit report when it's filed. And then obviously once it's settled and everything is charged off, it will stay on your credit report from that date, 10 years, for 10 years following its settlement. Having a bankruptcy is a pretty severe, one of the most severe infractions you can have on your credit report, and many lenders are definitely going to treat it as such. So they'll make it harder for you to get new credit accounts or even to do things like, rent an apartment. If somebody runs a credit report check on you, they see a bankruptcy, they're like, okay, well, this person very clearly had issues paying back their debts before. So I'm not sure if I'm going to lend them this apartment or open a new credit account for them. You'll also more than likely have any current credit cards or accounts closed, right? Now, Chapter 13 is very similar effects, but it only stays on your report for 7 years. Now, either way, this is a significant amount of time to have to deal with that and being considered a high risk borrower.
Is a man, it's very costly, right? And you
Oh,
end up
yes.
being you hear the ads, bankruptcy's welcome. Well, they welcome you because they know that you have no other options and you're going to pay a lot more in interest than the average person. You're talking it's very, very costly. So, Mike, what are other ways that people tend to take on this issue? when
Right.
that
And like you said, it's sort of like this give or take when you're deciding which way to go, right? So do I try to really tackle this debt on my own, even though I know I probably can't handle it, and while these interest rates are rising and I'll have more interest on top of everything, or do I just go for this, bankruptcy and then, have to deal? Like I said, it is a legal process, so there are fees associated with it for filing. There's attorneys that you have to pay for to sort of make your case on your behalf. So there are also some fees associated with that. Um, but even before people sort of get to this sort of fork in the road, there are people that have used different tools, such as like things like home equity to consolidate their loans into a mortgage payment. Now, of course, that's an option like that is available to someone who has not let their debt impact their score too much. And home equity loan solutions require lender approval, so they definitely need pretty good credit to not only get it but also get a good rate on it. Honestly, if you have consistent income and reasonable expenses, sometimes all it takes is really just active planning and budgeting to get yourself out from under this debt. There is no one single solution that's better than another that you can just say and people do it. It's really all based on your particular situation.
and patience, right? So tell people what
A
they need
lot
to.
of patience.
Right, I was going to say, right.
A lot.
And so, what can people do if they are thinking about any of these solutions?
So I can understand getting from out under your debt is something many people want and definitely many people need, and to the point of desperation. But please, I urge you, do not let this desperation lead you to making an uninformed decision. Utilizing someone who can have a comprehensive view on your finances and in totality can help lead you to the solution that's best suited for you. So obviously, as always, you can give your friendly neighborhood advisor a call at 315-748-5540. Again, that's 315-748-5540, or send me a quick note at michael.jennings@brackensfsn.com, and I'll be here for you.
All right. Mike Jennings is your friendly neighborhood advisor and wealth advisor at Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC.